Today, I'm joined by Pritesh Sonu, founder and CEO at Pravaah Consulting, one of Caspio's premier partners. And today we'll be focused on the hot topic of generative AI applications in healthcare. Welcome, Pritesh, and thank you for joining Caspio Low Code High Impact podcast. So please share with everyone a little bit about yourself and your company.
Hey, thank you, Paul. Thanks for having me here. We are a company based out of San Francisco Bay Area, and we started about 5 years ago with the focus of taking digital transformation to MSMEs and startups. My own background, I've been working with some of the big five consulting companies and providing digital transformation services to Fortune 50 companies. So I realized there was a gap and thought in the MSME space, if we can provide that kind of level of strategy and consulting and software development services, it would be really good for the business. So we started about 5 years ago, like I said, and we have been very, very focused on custom software development and providing product engineering services and also leveraging some of the cutting edge technologies like generative AI and machine learning to build innovative solutions for startups trying to come up with MVPs to get funding or for MSMEs, where they're actually further down the road.
No, thanks for sharing that, Pritesh. And I know you've been a Caspio partner now, I think, for about 2 or 3 years. So thank you for that. So I'd be interested to know, what are your type of customers that you're working with on a daily basis?
It ranges from mid-sized companies trying to really take the leverage digital channels to really have a storefront or have an e-commerce store, to really companies trying to have more digital properties they want to create, to even mid-size companies which are into building their own software products and trying to come up with a different group altogether, trying to have a small team that is dedicated in building a product so that they can continue with their product roadmap. So it ranges quite a bit from startups and to mid-sized enterprises into retail and a few financial services companies as well, or fintech startups as well.
Yeah, no, thanks. And can you remember, going back just a few years ago, what interested you in becoming a Caspio partner in the first place?
Oh, that was an interesting story. Like, a few years ago, there were a lot of buzz about how low code, no code software was kind of taking over, and a lot of businesses were trying to kind of do things faster and without really relying on technology teams to really go through the long process of engaging with the engineers to really get things done. And then I came across Caspio, and what really excited me was the quick turnaround. Not necessarily the fact that you don't have to work with technology teams to really make things happen. There were a lot of standalone applications that could be created in a matter of weeks compared to months if you were to really do a software development. So that really excited me quite a bit. And we wanted to try our hands on it to see how this actually manifests. And we had some really great results in building out smaller systems, like even building things like software, like project management tools or expense management tools, and any workflow management, any paper-based system could be clearly automated very easily. And matter of 4 to 6 weeks, we could do a lot of these software. So that actually excited us quite a bit with Caspio when we initially tried, and then that is definitely something which we loved. And then we also realized that it's a very scalable platform. It's not like it's only for small businesses, even mid-sized businesses, even larger enterprises could also leverage it. The businesses can leverage it. It's very extendable and quite robust from a data layer standpoint. The third thing which we were also a little concerned about when we got into Caspio, but then it kind of worked in favor of Caspio, was its ability to also integrate with other platforms. And if you have a system, and there are companies using different systems, and how we could actually exchange data between, let's say, they had a CRM system and they wanted to build something out of Caspio. So those things also kind of definitely helped in for us to really move with the partnership with Caspio. Last but not the least, we were also looking into a lot of these healthcare companies, and we were trying to kind of get into the healthcare space. And And I kind of missed to call out earlier that healthcare is again one of the domains where we actually specialize in. We are
Yeah.
building a lot of products there. And with the HIPAA compliance and required for most of the healthcare products, right, where we have patient information or data, which is a big concern in that space, Caspio had a solution for that. So that actually helped us in deciding to move forward with the partnership in Caspio and invest in it and move forward.
I think you made a couple of points that are really interesting there, Pritesh, is that I speak to customers on a daily basis, whether it's a Fortune 100 customer or it could be a very small company with an individual DIY making their own applications and things and everything in between. So it just shows you how flexible and scalable the Caspio platform really is. But there's another point that you mentioned about the healthcare. And obviously, that's a big industry sector for you guys, and you have a lot of success in that. And obviously, the conversation today is really around focusing on generative AI. So, for those people that are not really familiar with it, what is generative AI and how is it applied in the healthcare sector?
So, generative AI, again, there's a lot of buzzword around
Yeah.
generative AI in the last year and a half or so, like with Chat GPT becoming, and it became a lot more real.
Mm.
Although teams have been working on it for like, I would say about 3 to 4 years at least, right, behind the scene to
Yeah.
really make it happen. But generative AI involves like AI models that can generate text, images, or data patterns. I mean, if for people who are not aware of it. And for something like this, which I think most of the people might have experience if you're in technology by virtue of being in OpenAI or Bard from Google. Uh, so in healthcare, this technology can be used like there are several use cases, but what we have seen, which is really getting very real, is creating some sort of a personalized treatment plans, right? So with the data there and available, and if the models are trained right with the available data, uh, the treatment plans can be very personalized. Of course, it needs a doctor to really look at the plan, to bless it, to say before you can share, but you don't have to really create from scratch. Also, you could also use generative AI. One of the use cases we have been brainstorming quite a bit lately is simulating different medical scenarios, which can be used for training. So then, whether it's hospitals or colleges where this could be done. So generative AI definitely helps with that. And predictive models have been around for a while. So,
Mm.
but predictive models, which could actually, with the generative capabilities, can also enhance the patient care management. So that's one of the use case which we think is quite powerful, and we'll see that manifest in the coming days.
So you said that about 3 or 4 years ago, you started to look at AI working with the healthcare sector. Can you remember what was one of the reasons what led you to start to explore that as an opportunity?
It's interesting, when we talked about digital
Mm.
transformation, let's say about 10, 12 years ago, that's when like my journey with digital transformation started. Like I would say even more before that, late 2000, right, 2008, 9. Everybody was talking about digital
Yeah.
transformation. People were trying to see, what it will mean, and different sectors actually warmed up to it, right? Of course, technology sector was the first one to get into it, and then several sectors got into it. Healthcare has, is usually be like being called the last frontier
Yeah.
because the penetration happened late because of the regulatory requirements, the concerns with data, and several things out there, right? So that actually made us when we embarked on the journey with Pravaah Consulting. At that point in time, pretty much everybody like digital transformation was table stakes for any conversation with
Yeah.
any industry. But in healthcare, it was still at a point where a lot of things need to be done, and that's where we thought of an area to focus on, and where everybody was very interested to learn about, what can you change. I mean, people were used to working with a similar system for years, right? The kind of software being used in hospitals and all are very traditional. The user experience is very traditional, like old, and a lot of people are not very happy about it. But just the virtue of the size of the how these softwares embed with the hospitals and patients, it's very difficult to replace.
Yeah.
So that's where we thought, okay, maybe there are possibilities of looking at certain solutions, like more focused solutions instead of entirely changing the platform. And that's where we started looking into it. And I think and that was a good move. And I see a lot of the new startups also coming in the healthcare area, which they're trying to solve specific problems in healthcare. And I think that frontier has warmed up to digital transformation now.
Yeah, you mentioned there, Pritesh, about you can see where there's enhancements with the healthcare practitioners in their daily work. How are you seeing it kind of benefit the patients?
Uh, I think from a patient care standpoint, there are a few cases where patients also need to be aware of what's really kind of what they are supposed to do. So
Mhm.
in terms of a patient research, also patient trying to do their own research, it's quite helpful to see when to really kind of approach a doctor. Or usually, if you go with regular searches on Google and all, there are a lot of articles out there with WebMDs and all which people read. But one use case could be like, patient actually laying out the whole scenario and then getting a very comprehensive plan, a more personalized plan to say, no, this is the other things you should be doing and consulting a doctor about. Also, it kind of creates an issue with the sense the patient can, the AI is not foolproof, right?
Yeah.
There are certain challenges. There could be cases of hallucinations and all too. So, of course, they need to approach the doctor. So, there's one piece which I feel from a patient standpoint, the research part. The other piece is the benefit which patient gets is because the doctor is more informed, and a lot of the manual errors are also kind of taken care of, right?
Yeah.
So because in the current system, what we realize after speaking to several practitioners, there's a lot of inputs that go inside, like a manual inputs that go inside, and when there are manual inputs, there could be chances of errors. There could be chances of missing out on certain aspects. And with the generative AI layer and some checks and balances in place with that, those manual errors can be eradicated. And that is a benefit for the patient, right? If you
Yeah.
think from an overall care standpoint. So a lot of benefits for patient could be from the virtue of, the doctors getting more enabled, the AI actually kind of ensuring that the history and none of these things are medication, none of these are actually missed out as they actually create a patient plan. And so the personalized patient plan can be more beneficial for the patient.
You mentioned there, Pritesh, obviously there's lots of benefits and positives of working with generative AI in the healthcare industry. But are you seeing so far any limitations or challenges, and how are you guys really working to overcome those?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So data privacy is the biggest
Yeah, of
concern when it
course.
comes to uh, applying AI or generative AI in the healthcare space. And this any model that you create requires extensive training of the data, right? And there are also potential biases in AI models. So, so for any company to really kind of do this, you need to have a very extensive data governance framework, right? And there has to be some sort of a continuous model training and
Mm.
evaluation based on what you have actually producing. So one of the biggest challenge right now is that you cannot leave these models and all as a standalone model to go in. You'll still need human intelligence on top of it to ensure that whatever is getting generated is not having such biases which could actually impact the patient, right? And then we again we the best we could do or any other company could do at this point of time would be to really kind of have a robust data governance model and then keep learning from the data that is actually getting generated on a daily basis, right? Because every facility will be different, every hospital will be different, right? And you cannot go and because of data privacy concerns and issues, you cannot just put all the data from all the facilities and make a model learn. You
Yeah.
have to train your model based on the data that is actually getting generated from a facility. So that puts a challenge because the model will train over a period of time. It's not from going to be well trained from get-go, but it also gives you a path to move forward where you can actually use AI to solve a problem.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's such a unique industry, the healthcare. We know how strict they are with data privacy and sharing of that data as well, with being HIPAA in the US, for example, and compliance requirements in Europe. Do you think there's any kind of ethical reason not to use AI generative in the healthcare industry? Or do you think, from what you're saying there and your experience, it sounds like it's adding a lot of benefits? We just need to be sensitive, I suspect.
Yes, I think
Tailor.
there is definitely ethical concerns revolve on the data privacy, right?
Yeah.
The consent, right? What kind of information do the patients really agree on really sharing, even with the model, right? Although the data is usually masked, like with the data governance rules and all, you don't really expose the actual patient and all, even with the models.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the biggest concern, right? And then you have to follow the ethical practices in terms of where how the data is exchanging hands. If it is is it encrypted? Is it in the stored locally in a private cloud, or where is it really stored? It's not actually getting exposed. Nobody has access to it. So those things are important, like creating the transparency with the patients and securing the data, and then also incorporating any feedback that the healthcare professionals are providing based on what's really going on in the whole system. If they see like there are issues and where it could go wrong in the HIPAA compliance standpoint, then you have to make those corrections, make those changes to be compliant. So,
Yeah.
so that's primarily concern, I would say, like ethical question.
Yeah. Obviously, you've got many successes, I suspect, around healthcare and generative AI. Is there one that springs to mind that you want to share with everybody?
Yeah, so one of the things which we initially tried when this whole generative AI was becoming real was more of a personalized plan for the
Mm.
patient. So we had built our own EMR system, and we equipped that EMR system with generative AI, where we were able to really, based on the symptoms and the medications, the past history, we could actually prompt the doctors to uh, recommend certain tests or certain medications or certain care. So that was one aspect which we did, and we actually deployed it on our own system and tried with a few clinics. The other case study I would mention here would be where we are trying to automate a lot of the manual processes that happens between a patient and a doctor's interaction. And what really it really means is there's a lot of dialogue that goes on between doctor and the patient, and the doctor also or the assistant has to really write a lot of things into the systems where they actually record. So we have worked on a system where we are able to transcribe that, summarize that, and also create based on certain guides and some personalized plan for the patient. So the doctor sees that, reviews that, and can even copy paste and edit it into the system. So that actually saves a lot of time. So these are
Yeah.
the couple of use cases which we have worked on and has been very successful.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I was just thinking about, if we're looking ahead, how do you see generative AI evolving in the healthcare sector over the coming months and years?
Um, in the healthcare domain, I do feel that the predictive analytics part of
Yeah.
AI will be quite like some key here, right? So as we kind of have data, and let's say one facility or one hospital adapt this, and they actually learn from the data, there are a lot of predictive analytics will come into play from a technology standpoint, and
Mhm.
that can solve problems just not from a patient care, but also from a research standpoint and cancer research and a lot of other research where people, a lot of data is sitting in, in the databases where people have not really used it so far. The other area where I see it could actually benefit and help would be in the virtual health care, right? When virtual health assistants, there could be various ways to really enhance that experience, make it more real, and based on what patient is really kind of talking about, there could be responses which are really more real, and it covers all the bases. So AI-driven diagnostics can come into play pretty soon, right? As the models actually
Yeah.
get better and better for a particular facility, I guess that's what is going to happen. But we generally we feel very excited about the potential of AI, and especially how it can actually enhance the healthcare.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear it's impacting all industries. And I think the healthcare industry is just one of those where I think it's going to add a lot of benefits. Like I said, we talked about earlier a little bit of ethical questions potentially, but I think it's only a good thing, and it's going to make more efficiency savings and just improve overall patients and healthcare workers' day-to-day lives. So I think it's a good thing. So kind of the final thing from me, really, Pritesh, is I always ask everybody this question. So if somebody's listening to this, they're thinking, actually, I want to go a little bit further into low code. What advice would you give them?
So I think the industry is moving to a point where software development as such is not going to be like something which takes 6 months or 4 months to build,
Yeah,
right? It's kind of low code is democratizing this whole software development field. So people don't need to be scared about it. And you can get started with certain areas, and then low code should be seen in a way where it's a big facilitator where it actually can help you build things a lot faster. It can definitely help you in automating a lot of your workflows and operationally make you more efficient. But one thing which you should also think about is when you are embarking on a journey with any low-code software, you should also look at the whole ecosystem. It
yeah,
should not feel like you're using one low code in one area and another low code somebody else is using in another area, and later on you are not able to integrate that. Only if you have other systems. So definitely having an eye for overall picture is going to be key. But low code is here, and I think it's making good progress. People are able to solve a lot of their problems where their people are able to walk away from paper user licenses and all
yeah.
by investing in low code and enabling a lot of their functions like CRM and even ERP systems.
Yeah. Well, Pritesh, thank you for sharing your thoughts, especially on the AI in healthcare, and obviously advice on people that are considering low code. I did notice on LinkedIn that you've been posting about polls in AI in healthcare. So it'll be interesting to see some of the results in there as well. But what we'll do is we'll add your contact details on here if anybody wants to continue the conversations around this really interesting subject, I think. So for me, really, thank you so much for being a premier partner of Caspio for the last few years. I'm sure there'll be many years of mutual success ahead. And thank you for sharing your thoughts and joining the podcast today, Pritesh.
Yeah, thank you so much, Paul.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.